Hey team, this is Jeremy Hauser, host of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. You are not going to want to miss out on this episode as we launch for 2025. We talk about all things mindset as entrepreneurs continue to grow and scale their business. We talk about some of the systems and habits they're utilizing to not only leverage their time more efficiently, but also grow as an organization. They also talk a little bit about social media, how our advisors are leveraging social media to be more efficient in their business. And we share a little data around Google. Google has a great analysis that we talk about here, how advisors are able to leverage their time more efficiently and attract their ideal customer. So if you are an entrepreneur looking to grow your business in 2025, just write down these numbers, 7, 11, and 4. Check out this episode to learn what Google says will help your business grow and actually get customers in 2025. With that, check out this episode. Let us know what you think.
Systems work, people fail. Welcome to InsureMark's Advisor Mentorship Podcast with Vice President Jeremy Hauser.
If 2024 seemed longer than usual, it was. All right, it was only by one day. It was a leap year with 29 days in February, but that gave you an extra day to reach those goals you set way back in January. And it's time to do it again, but this time for 2025. Jeremy Hauser, you're starting the new year with a new video look. I like it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we're launching here in the home office space, so appreciate that. We're looking forward to, most importantly for me, getting to be able to work from home, actually working from home. So this is the new office setup for the last couple of months. We moved back in August, officially got into the house, so roughly 4 months ago, and for some reason, this ended up being one of the last rooms we were putting together. But yeah, it actually, so the office, even though we were recording, so we've been doing the podcast for several months here over the last, the last back half of the 2024 year, and it looked like everything looked the exact same. So I was actually leasing an office. So I ended up moving everything I had in my home studio in the old home into the leasing office, because I mean, literally a 7x7 here in Houston, still a couple $100, a lot of $100 to do that for a monthly basis. But in reality, to store all the equipment, and it was just going to be a different look here anyways. So wanted to make sure the show went on. We had the same look. And yeah, so I'm excited because now I get to be here, record with the kids, actually, being able to be dad a little bit in between and not having to fight Houston traffic just to get to studio time to record and do the usual weekly videos that I do for my advisors. But it's crazy. 2020, especially how we got here. And when I look back, so 2020 and 2021. So officially when people started working from home and having that option for, stay home for 2 weeks and all that stuff. I think around May or so, or July of 2021, my wife was very honed in on, hey, let's go ahead and build a wall in the house, and why don't we make you a little office? And so I was very against it. I'm very frugal. I was very frugal back then too. But I'm not too frugal now. And just actually, I can speak for, here we are today, 2024, 3 years later. It was the greatest, literally the best decision. I'm glad she pushed us to operate and actually build an actual studio in the house. And I was able to be a little more present with the kids. I didn't have to go into the office every single day just to do these recordings. And so I really wanted to, whenever we were looking for a home last year, it had to have an office. And if you remember, we had a guy on who talked about that. Do you remember it was Siegel and Schiller? They were talking about
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, they were saying stuff around, people looking for homes nowadays. They're really looking for a office in the home of some sort. So, as he was saying that and going on both ends of it, thinking to myself, as we're buying a new home, I definitely want an office so I can continue to do the recordings. I built out a pretty good studio here in this office for numerous different types of recordings we'll be doing moving forward. But also as a seller, I thought to myself, hell, okay, that's going to help me out if that's what people are looking for. And sure enough, we sold our house within a couple weeks. So it was good call on the experts.
Well, sounds like you're becoming a real estate expert here too.
That's what I'm trying to do. No.
All right, so 2024, it's over. You got your new office, you got your new house, you got a great family. And as you said, it's kid approved, that office. So as you look back on 2024, you had a lot of things going on, but work-wise, is there something that really stands out?
Let's see. Change is definitely inevitable, I would say. Last year, especially, so like you mentioned, the family front, a lot of different things. House, we had to buy a new car, new baby, and just God bless my wife. She stayed true trooper, being pregnant majority of the year. So that was it was a lot of challenges, but exciting challenges because we look back going into 2025 and realize that, hey, we went through a grind period, and coming up this year, it's now time to continue to grow. But now it's just building on what we've built here. I think for the work side of things, change being inevitable, advisors especially, I think if what we've learned here in the last, not just couple of years, but also in the last month or two, really, if I've said it on the show numerous times now, it's just being able to be efficient with your own time. If people can actually each and every day, those advisors, the ones that are doing really well, waking up early, creating good habits, not reducing, not minimizing their standards, just really raising the bar of what they want to do each and every day and just getting better. Those advisors in 2024, I mean, they flourished. I was talking to a couple people here recently. I think so I have this collective unit there. My group's called AMP, so Advisor Mentorship Program. So those 15 advisors, I work with a lot more than 15 advisors, but those are the main ones those are the top of the top in the industry. These individuals, we've been working together for numerous years. AMP started roughly 7 or so years ago now, which is crazy to think about. And the standard to get into AMP back in the day, if an advisor were to do, so this is back in 2017 and 18, if an advisor was doing $5 million in our industry of index annuity business, that would be just a rock star advisor. Like, man, that is someone who's doing really, really well in our industry. And as we look back from 2017 to now, it's safe to say that every single one of those advisors that are in the AMP program of ours, the 15 advisors, they're all doing north of that $5 million threshold. And so we've had some advisors that went over $30 million last year as solo advisors. We got literally last year's growth from 2023 to 2024. Those same 15 advisors are up over 50%. Final numbers aren't in yet, but hopefully here in the next week or so, I'll get the final actual numbers, but it's anywhere from 47 to 52% is what those advisors are going to end at, up year over year from 2023's record-breaking year.
Wait a minute, 47 to 52%?
Yeah, it's a large number, and something in sales too, especially doing in sales in general, just in any business. If you've been doing the same thing for, call it 8 years, 10 years now for me and my team, so doing this for 14, coming into 14 years right now, it's tough to actually grow anywhere from 7 to 15%. That's really a solid number, I would say. If you can get up to 20%, that's the elite type of, I would say, organizations that are growing the right way, especially doing the same thing for over 10 years. But to see that trajectory of growth for last year for those advisors, it wasn't small. And I mean, the standards continue to raise. And I think the message of what our advisors are doing, it's really resonating with the consumer. So people are really seeking and looking for top financial professionals to work with, but also they're looking for something different. So not the traditional advisor. They want somebody who is willing to kind of intertwine a little bit of their personal life into their business life. They also do a lot of social media. They're starting to leverage different levers as opposed to the mainstream media of a lot of advisors, which TV is very credible. Doing radio has always been very solid for advisors to have a national presence. But it's one of those where podcasting and digital presence is starting to really creep up into the mainstream now, where advisors that are continuing to build their brand in that type of forum, we're starting to see some really good results because they're able to leverage their time so much more efficiently, because as they record episodes or they talk about certain matters that anybody in this world might relate to around Social Security or retirement planning, they're able to find that information just by tuning into a podcast episode. So the advisor doesn't have to physically be there. They can just shoot them over those episodes. So it's just being more efficient.
Do you think it's social media that has really fueled this? Or is it also being fueled in part by the fact that demographics are changing? People are becoming more aware of the need for a financial advisor.
That's a good question. I would say there's definitely a little bit of both. More so, I think where people are hungry, especially after 2020, just basically when their world was rocked. So everybody was impacted the same way of having to stay at home or making adjustments. And some people really started to navigate through technology. So technology continues to build tremendously here, especially over the last couple of years. And I mean, the big buzz of AI and all that stuff is coming into the front now for this year. So I think for those that not only actually had some benefit of taking advantage of technology back in 2020, people started to want to communicate more. They started to realize, my days on this earth every single day, I would say, it's nothing's given. So you never know if today's the last day. So people really want to max out what they're doing each and every other day. And so consumers just wanted to start to learn information on their own. And what better way than just opening up your phone? Not being told to, at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, I have this person that I'm sitting down with for an interview. So I better be looking at this mainstream media television show. People don't want to operate that way anymore. It seems like as years continue to go on, they want to be on their own terms, their own schedule. So I think a little bit of both, because social media is just, it's right there in your pocket. Matt Halloran, the guest of the last episode, he talked about it and put it so wisely, just being able to communicate with somebody when they're ready to listen and just being right there on their mobile device for whatever their timetable is. Some people want to listen to news or catch up, after a long day. It might be 11 o'clock at night, or they early riser, maybe 5 a.m. in the morning. They want to get some news. They want to start looking around, get motivated for the day, listen to certain things. So I think, once again, a little bit of both. Social media is going to continue to just evolve, but there's a certain way to do it, though. You can't just go out there and just start posting just random stuff. There's got to be a thought behind what you're doing and who you're trying to talk to. You can't be the person who's marketing to the masses. You got to have your niche of who you're trying to communicate to, and your niche will find you if you're doing it the right way. Are you an advisor currently working in your business instead of on your business each and every day? You are not alone. We come across advisors every single day that are constantly asking us, what can I do to get better? How can I go from being an advisor to a CEO? How do I delegate? If you find yourself asking you these same type of questions in your business to your team, you're in the right place. Make sure to check out our resources here at www.insuremarkamp.com/Jeremy. You can hear from successful entrepreneurial advisors like yourself as they have plugged into our systems and processes and continued to scale their business. If you are an advisor that's looking to go from advisor to CEO, make sure to go to www.insuremarkamp.com/Jeremy. Click on the Learn More section, insert your information. We'd love to get our introduction kit to you. Now, back to this episode.
Well, as we're talking social media, let's talk about 2025. I mean, it's just it's here. What do you see coming in the new year? Along with social media, being able to get your process in order to deal with social media. And that's, as you say, it's a wide open field when we're talking that. It's not just podcasting. It's the old LinkedIn stuff. It's the Facebook stuff. It's the TikTok. It's, you name it, it's social media.
I always struggle, is it Facebook? Is it Meta? I don't even know.
Well, you're right. The product is still Facebook.
Yeah.
The company is Meta. Yeah.
And that's why, so I go into everything you just said is spot on. It's, you have to have different forums. We did a study. I didn't do a study. I reported a story a study. It was from Y Charts earlier this year. It was called CAM. It's called the acronym's CAM, but it's Change Activation Model. And that, do you remember talking about that? Or
Oh, yeah, of course I do. Of course I do.
I'll give you the I'll give you the quick snippets of what is CAM. So CAM, this Y Charts article back early 2024 came out. Interesting. It was Forbes and Google. Heard of those two. So them two companies, they actually went ahead and they put together a survey, and they found, based off of all the data that they currently collect, Google being obviously the number one data provider in the country, they actually found that people, when it comes to buying online and when they want to make a change or they become somebody who wants to purchase something, they need what's called, which they claim is the change activation model. These individuals need 7 hours of content. So 7 hours of content. This is the data. 11 touch points. So 11 touch points of text messaging, email, maybe phone call, but usually text, email, and some type of communication about, or maybe even an ad that's on your phone. So 11 touch points, and also 4 forums to build up that authority positioning. So people want to know, like, is this legit? So therefore, to your point, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, then they go to website, then maybe email, then, they want to know, who am I buying from? What am I buying? And they want to know and be educated a little bit before making that decision. So those are the numbers: 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, and 4 forums. And that's where right now, really getting advisors to wrap their mind around that here over the last year and a half, 2 years, is really where we're seeing a lot of good growth, because advisors are now taking their talents, instead of just down the street doing a dinner seminar or a workshop, which continues to do really well. But as the younger generation continues to get older, they don't necessarily obtain knowledge around financial literacy the same way as their parents did. So they don't go to workshops, they don't listen to the radio. So therefore, advisors are getting wiser, and they're starting to market themselves on those social media platforms. They're doing little things like, literally sales has changed. If you go back 10 years, because that's what I can speak to. So being in sales for the last 13 to 14 years, back in the day, email was just coming out, basically, is what it felt like. So we had email, we had fax machines. So a lot of people, it wasn't the norm to communicate through necessarily email. You could send out some messaging, and everything was kind of evolving back in the early 2000s or so. But as we move forward, so in order to get a hold of somebody in the sales role, it was usually giving them a phone call. And then people can relate to this, especially advisors. It was the old reaching out to them. If it wasn't somebody who knew who you were, it was probably called what we would call a cold call. So reaching out to an individual. So you have 10 seconds to catch their attention, just to hopefully buy 2 to 3 minutes of their time at that point, just to see if there's going to be a good opportunity to continue that conversation, to basically now buy an additional 10 minutes with that individual that they don't know who you are. You know who they are because you've done some research, but it's getting them to want to communicate for that 10-minute time frame, just to see if it's worth you two getting together and seeing if you can do business, essentially. So that was like the old method. So today, if you look at social media and different forums, we talked about CAM, especially with the Google analytics of the 7 hours of content. You got 11 touch points, 4 forums. So now, as an advisor, think of it this way. If you were to do, let's say, a short, so it can be on YouTube, it can be on Instagram. Nowadays, stories on Instagram are so crucial. Advisors, there's such a good opportunity, especially because it syncs to Meta or Facebook, whatever Patrice wants to call it. So Instagram can connect to that. So all this data that you've built, especially as an advisor who continues to build out their friends and their connections and their network on something like Facebook, Instagram actually connects to it. So throughout your day, if you just have your teammates or you guys or anything that's going on in your organization, and you just record a quick 7-second, 15-second, 30-second video clip of just what's going on. If you have a webinar, if you have a seminar coming up later that night, that can just sit there and leave on the consumers. That's going to live right there on their Facebook page or on their Instagram story. So people throughout the day, just, I mean, general terms, I don't know if Patrice, you have an Instagram or not. So when people go and they want to take that 15-minute break or a 10-minute break in their day, they go to lunch, they want to surf social media, and all of a sudden they just want to click on your face to see what you're doing. And now here they are in just their own convenience of when they want to listen to whatever information you have for that day. It's just so valuable because now 10 seconds to 30 seconds of a video clip could then entice them to now, you know what, that's actually something I've been thinking about. I'm going to go watch that podcast episode later on tonight that he just referenced. So now they get into your web. So now they go to your podcast episode, or now they go to the webinar that you're inviting them to. In between, they may go to the website just to listen and look at all this other data and content that you've created here, a library of just information that they can go get to know you before even knowing you, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. The efficiency factor skyrockets, number one. But number two, they are coming to you already sold because they've chosen to come to you.
Yeah. I mean, and there's no better benefit, especially of going back to being efficient, is when you have somebody who's raising their hand, coming to you, being at a position of authority, because then you can easily navigate them to just tell them the time. A lot of those individuals, they don't want to know how the watch works because you've now earned that trust equity. Literally, you've built up all of that just amazing credibility and trust throughout the process of the labor that you've put in for the last year, 2 years, 3 years of content. So when they come to you, they're already moving forward. So it's if you remember, we talked about, I don't even remember what episode now, but we talked about that baseball analogy, how in 2025 for our advisors, that's the big thing we're focusing on for baseball is getting them over. So instead of getting those individuals on second base, when you come up to bat, our goal is to try to get them to third base. So they're already there. They're ready to buy. They want to know, just basically don't screw it up. Just put the ball in play. Just get, as an advisor, just get them in. Because if you set up the right forums, you'll be amazed of the opportunities there. So yeah.
All right. Your team, how are they doing? You said they're doing really well. Do you see, well, let me put it this way. How are they addressing individually these sales changes? Are they embracing social media? Are they embracing the personalization of it, telling their story?
The ones that want to change, yes. There's going to be, so there's always it's tough. I saw or I read something where once you're 35 years old, it's tough to change, which is crazy because now I'm 37. So I mean, once you do something for so long, it's very tough internally to change anything about you. So that's a real struggle, especially with a lot of financial advisors who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s plus. And what we talk to and what we coach to for that is, look, don't change. We don't need you to change. But what you need to think about is your time and being able to efficiently delegate that. So let's hire somebody who is younger, who's more tech savvy. So that's where there's huge opportunity where we continue to help them with habits, figuring out really what their time is worth on a day in and day basis. One thing that I had probably in the last quarter, so in 2024, I had each one of my advisors, especially when they were doing, so not just advisors, I mean, I do a lot of training for some of the industry as well too. So what we talk about during those just get-togethers on a quarterly basis or new advisors that come in, I have them write one thing on a sheet of paper. So if you have a pen, write this down. It would be, no one is coming to save you. So literally, no one is coming to save you in 2025. So I talk about the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. You have got to start getting out of your own way, looking into 2025. If you want change to happen, you have to change. So if it's you physically changing, so you're having to change your ways, it is not easy. But if you're sitting back and you want to get to maybe that individual that you've been looking at for a while and you're seeing them progress, maybe there's some habits you have to tweak throughout the process here in 2025 to help you get to where you're wanting to go. and leverage a team, especially a team that's been doing this for a while now. So if you get the right people on board of your team, helping you hire the right people to put them in the place of all those, what we would call under the line things that an advisor should not be doing. If you're sitting here last month, so Patrice, this means nothing to you, but last month, if you were an advisor and you were going to insurance carriers and seeking out RMD forms, trying to get those in through the deadline, this message is for you. You need to have somebody else on your staff that is doing that. If you don't have staff, you need to find somebody to help you out with these tedious acts, which can be done from somebody else. And you need to continue to focus on those above the line activities that will really help you generate more revenue into your business. And once you start really valuing your time, that's really where all of a sudden that mindset shift's going to help you focus in on, you know what, for 2025, I'm not just going to be a better individual to my family, to my loved ones, my friends, but also my customers. But also I want to make sure that I'm helping and growing a successful business and not just being a salesman. So in order to have a business, you have to have multiple people there to hire. And once again, just having the right staff in place. Change is tough. It's very tough. But when you have successful people that have done that already, just partner up with those groups and make sure if you've been working with the same group for the last 6, 5 years, 4 years, even the last 10 years, and you feel like you've plateaued with that group, maybe there's a reason for that. And some people just aren't looking around the corner to help you out for what's coming up here, especially as the sales evolution continues to change each and every day. I actually saw this. I saw this thing recently, and it's so true. So people, as they become more successful and they start to make a little bit more money, who do you know that goes out there? Do they typically, as they make more money, do they buy a school bus or do they buy a Lamborghini?
Oh, I'm aiming for the Lamborghini, baby.
You're going for a Lamborghini.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. They buy.
Patrice, do you buy the bus? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'll buy a Subaru, VW, Ford. Whatever.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And so the main message between the bus and the Lamborghini analogy is that individuals, as success starts to creep in, you have to start looking amongst your team. You got to get rid of negativity. There's a reason that a Lamborghini only has 2 seats. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have 50 seats like a bus. So this is probably more 26, 27 thinking. As you continue to grow, you're going to start to see that as you are changing and evolving, it's not easy because a lot of people that have been there for you throughout the years of what you're currently doing and what you're going through, it's been nice and comfortable. But for whatever reason, as you start to hit certain levels of getting a little more successful, but all of a sudden your habits are changing, things are going really well for you. And also all of a sudden your friend circles and people you're associating with, because you can relate to them more efficiently and you just relate with them a little bit better. There's going to be some struggles along the way personally, where that's why if you have a good system, you have a good team that's with you, they're going to help you get through those tough times. And that's why I saw this, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, that Lamborghini and a bus analogy. I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. Must have been a really rich guy who said that. But yeah.
But you got to have the right people around you to get you through the tough times.
Yep, you absolutely have to. And I think one thing also for advisors is like today. So I'll role play this with you, Patrice. So in 2027, so here we are. We're starting 2025, 2027.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself, Patrice?
Oh,
I'll make it even easier. So what do you see yourself doing in 2027 that you're not doing right now? What would you like to be doing?
I haven't even thought that far ahead. To be quite honest, I haven't. I think my grandkids, I think family. But honestly, Jeremy, where are you going to be?
Well, hold on. We'll get there.
We'll be doing the same thing here.
We'll be doing this. But so just think about, okay, for family. So when you think grandkids and 2 years from now, what's something that you wish you could do more of?
Take them places, be with them, the grandkids.
And then that would be, so I know you do your Disney trip every year. Yeah. So what else would that be?
Yosemite.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
So is there any reason why you wouldn't do that this year?
Because I haven't planned for it. I haven't thought about it.
So starting today, and this is where like going to, so thanks for role playing there. So starting today,
Okay.
a lot of advisors where I have these conversations of, one of the last sections in my recent training and coaching I did with people is I wrote out 2027 and I had them basically, I was like, what's going to change? What are you going to be doing in 2027? And they said, I'm doing social media. I'm going to be doing weekly recordings. I'm going to do more videos. I'm definitely doing a podcast, whatever the answer was. And I asked them just plain simply, why not today? Why is that in 2027? And kind of like it hits you of like, well, I guess I don't think of that. But I mean, why not? Because all that happens is as you start to evolve and change and you start pushing to do things today, don't just keep kicking the can down the road because 2027 is not promised. So if you start to put your vision very clear of, you know what, I'm going to start putting myself in the mental mindset of that person who I'm going to be in 2027. Why is that not me today? So start being that person today and you just be amazed by 2027, your standards in your head, you've already created who your future self is. And they're sitting there thanking you because you're doing it today. You're not waiting 2 more years to do it.
That's great advice. Great
Yep.
advice.
Thank you. So as the person, if you're still listening, it's been 30 something minutes and you're obviously something is pulling you in here. Think about that. My one thing I would really, really push for you in 2025 is think about 2027 you. Why are you not doing that today? And if it's because you don't have the right people in place, if you don't have the right mindset or the systems or the habits in place, start doing it. It's just one day at a time. It doesn't happen overnight, but there's no reason to wait to start hitting those goals. You got to start attacking it today. And eventually you're going to become that individual. You're already there in your head. You already know where you want to go. So just no reason to delay it anymore.
Well, Jeremy, how can people reach you? Because I mean, this is some very introspective but sage advice.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully. It's actually, you go to insuremarkamp.com. So once you go to insuremarkamp.com/Jeremy, you can click on our page. You can listen to some advisors that have gone through some of that transformation. You can hear their story. You can hear them, how our team has helped them really grow their business. You can also hear previous podcast episodes or just connect with us on LinkedIn every day, typically at least 5 times, 6 times a week. We're posting stuff about what successful advisors are doing. We're talking about things we chat about on the podcast. So either LinkedIn or connect with us on the website.
All right. Before we wrap it up, is there anything we missed here? You had so much.
Yeah. No, I would say the last thing to leave you with is respect your time. So there's going to be things asked upon you in the foreseed future. Who knows what that is? Everybody goes through it. Everybody has people in their lives of, if you're listening to the show, either you're running a successful business, either you're hiring people, you have family, you might be married, you have kids possibly. So there's always going to be something going on. And the one thing we all share is we all have 24 hours in a day. So respect your time. If you feel when you're doing something, if it is not benefiting your company or benefiting your family, start to make little notes of that and start to think about, can I eliminate certain things to be more efficient? Because certain tasks that you're doing, maybe people in your inner circle are just not being a good fit to where you're trying to go. They're keeping you there. They don't want you to change. It's like there's a meme out there that I've seen before, or a picture. There's a seat where there's a caterpillar and then there's a butterfly, and they come back and they're sitting there and they're having coffee together. The caterpillar looks at the butterfly and says, "You've changed." And the butterfly says, "I know, we're supposed to." So just think about that. I want that image in your head of, be the butterfly. Don't worry about the caterpillar. There's other butterfly out there, and just respect your time. Hopefully you have a very prosperous 2025. Continue to listen to the show. I have some incredible guests coming up here for the Advisor Mentorship Podcast, so you will not want to miss those.
All right, listeners, make 2025 a year of confidence and determination. And to help you maintain that momentum, be sure to follow Jeremy's podcast. Let him know your thoughts and, of course, share with others. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being with us.